G'day everyone and welcome to the Weekend Wrap this 26th of February 2023. A good weekend as far as the footy goes. We obviously had our game on Friday night and it wasn't bad at all. So joining me as usual to talk all about it, Macca. How you going, mate? I've got you muted, which I don't mind, but no one else does. How you going, mate?
We'll start again. Standard practice.
Standard practice. All good.
Yeah. No, got rid of the COVID, mate, and I enjoyed the game on Friday. It was good. I thought it was quite revealing in some ways as well.
Yeah, pretty good indication of where we're at, I reckon. I mean, Freo had a few out, but nonetheless, all our blokes got a good run, and lots to talk about. Don't forget, if you're joining us on YouTube, you can chat with us live on Discord. The link's in the in our profile and in all our socials and everywhere. Just hop on board there. You can chat. Don't forget, if you're in the chat now, Mac, I think you'd agree that the audience participation has been somewhat disappointing in the first 2 weeks.
Well, it's been nil, mate.
That's right. And we've got some talkers in there.
There's some smart guys out there. I mean, they could probably embarrass us.
Well, let's not get carried away. There's some decent fellas in there. I don't know about smart, but...
You have to lie a little to get them to come on, mate.
Well, look, don't forget, if you do want to have a say, there's plenty to talk about. So if you do want to come on and have a say, the pre-season is the best time because we've got a little bit of time and we'd love to have your thoughts. So stick your hand up in the virtual stage there and we'll be happy to have you on. Also, don't forget, Macca, our fantasy footy comp is up and running. Now, I think last I heard in 1990, if he pops in, he'll be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've got one spot left in the first comp, and we've also opened a second comp. So there's plenty of spots for your AFL fantasy team. Hop on board. We'll be giving away... As I said, we'll be giving away a prize for this one. The other exciting news, mate, and I'm sure you'll be around this, our footy tipping competition is now open as well. So if you go to the competitions channel on our Discord, you'll find all the links there and get on board. And yes, I was last in foot. Well, I was almost last year in footy tips. I plan to give it a red hot go this year, Mac. Enough of this playing around.
I'm hopeless at footy tips because I don't really give a shit.
Also, g'day to Nuzz, who I can see there in the chat. Good on you, mate. Sensible Crow. Make sure you get around Sensible's podcast. As much as we talk a bunch of shit, Nuzz seems to straighten everyone up and, actually talk a bit of sense.
No, good guy. He's a good guy.
Oh, again, you're just going a bit too far. I didn't tell you he was a good bloke. We will have Sensible on at some point this year. I reckon a bit of collaboration never goes astray. And, of course, you went on there a couple of times last year, Mac, while I was off sunning myself in sunny Phuket. So we'll return the favour and get Nuzz on at some stage during the season. What else have I got to talk about? I think that's about it. So, look, now, the disappointing thing, I had a bunch of highlights that I wanted to show after watching the game, and bloody KO, you can't record off KO anymore, so we're going to be a bit light on for highlights this season because you can't record off them. They've disabled it. Yes, Macca.
Well, I don't have KO. I operate off Foxtel, mate.
Yeah, same thing. Same stream. They've disabled the ability to record off it, and between myself and Vardy Magic, we're going to find a workaround if it kills us. But camera to screen might be the only way, Vardy, I reckon. Never mind. There was plenty of highlights on YouTube. There was some really good stuff to talk about. So why don't we get straight into it, Mac?
Yep.
7 periods, predominantly from what I could tell, You'd say best 25, the first 7 periods, the first 4 periods, and then predominantly the next best in the last couple.
That'd be 98% correct. The two exceptions would be that Crouch and Filthy. They both played really. Well, Crouch played the whole 7 quarters, and I reckon he must have set a record for the number of disposals in a game if you allow a 7-quarter game.
Yeah.
And Filthy had a bit of a run in the last 3 quarters as well.
Yeah, Tyler Brown also played a bit in the first quarter, 4 quarters as well, and then was continued on. There's a few of them.
I thought Crouch actually played all right.
All right, well let's start there. Let's talk about Matty Crouch. I thought it was a much improved effort from Matt. He looked a bit like he wanted to be a bit more proactive. He's still, I don't know whether he lacks confidence in his bloody kicking or what, but he second guesses himself a hell of a lot, Mac. But by and large, he looked a lot better.
He did. There were 2 or 3 times when he actually could have played on, and he chose to not to play on. But on each occasion, he did a very good disposal after it. So, I thought overall it was very hard to criticise his effort, actually.
Yeah, very true. The other one I thought was better for last week's run was Rory Sloane. And whereas I was probably a little doubtful about whether Sloaney could play off a wing, but I'm starting to think twice. Macca?
He played well. He would have been the best players if you were going to allocate best players. I mean, he's typical Sloaney, absolute 100%er and absolutely fearless. I thought he had a good game.
He did, and he proved the value of his ability overhead as well as at ground level. He's only going to get better at ground level, but he took a couple of nice grabs. His disposal into forward 50 was good, and his disposal in general around the ground, his decision making was good. He wasn't slow in his thinking. He moved the ball on, and I actually thought he was really good, to be honest.
Yeah, in the chat, Scoot said he was a contested beast, and I think that type of effort that Sloaney does give 100%, that does rub off on other players. So it's good to have Sloaney back in the side doing that.
Well, before we dig too deep into the other players, let's talk about the game itself, because we got absolutely flogged for the first 15 minutes or so. Freo were all over us in that first little section of the game, and but after that, it turned around quite substantially, and we looked to be on top pretty much for the rest of it, and even going into the last couple of quarters.
Yeah, well, that first period, say 10, 12 minutes, Darcy was absolutely caning O'Brien, caning him, made him look like the hack that he is. I mean, seriously, O'Brien was shocking, and he got absolutely slaughtered by Darcy. And Darcy's going to be a good ruckman, but geez whiz, Rob just looked like an old mule out there, and they were just breaking away from centre, at random, not because our mids weren't doing anything, but I mean, just Rob was pathetic, absolutely pathetic.
Look, I thought Macca in general, even when we got on top, I thought our centre square setups are still a problem. In that first period, as you say, O'Brien got torched, but not only that, our setups were very, very strange. We didn't, like Riley was doing his, front left taps as he always was doing. We essentially weren't set up to receive them. If you go back and have a look.
That's always a drawback.
Yeah, no one there. So, the times he did get a knock, we couldn't take advantage of it. I noticed, particularly after quarter time, I noticed that our setups changed a bit, and not only that, we were a bit body conscious in the first quarter, but after that we started getting a little bit more separation. We started to be a little bit more proactive, and we still weren't great around centre clearance. We're better around stoppage. Riley's always been a bit better around stoppage, if you ask me. But really, what I think turned the game around was just a lift in intensity. I don't think it was anything more than that.
Well, yeah, we did also neutralise their effect in the middle as well. As I said, they just streamed out of centre, for the first 3 and a bit goals that they kicked. But I thought Berry really started to fire. Laird started to fire, and they had to scramble to get the ball because it wasn't given to them on a plate like a normal ruckman would. And I thought Berry actually played really, really well for the whole game. So did Laird while he was on. And I think that was one of the bigger turning points, is the fact that we actually started to neutralise that breakaway from centre. And even if it was a scramble in the centre, then we actually got the ability then from that scramble to go forward. So it was really just neutralising that centre bounce.
Yeah, look, and that was intensity, in my opinion. We weren't being brushed off quite so quickly. And I feel like you're dead set right. Sam Berry and Rory Laird both lifted, and they were quite instrumental for the whole game. But just in general, around the ground, our ability to put tackles on, to put pressure on, to block the corridor quite often was quite good. So work rate, I think, and intensity around the contest improved after quarter time. In terms of our game plan and our strategies, I think there were 2 things that really stuck out to me. Macca, I'd be interested on your thoughts on this one. One is we're certainly carrying the ball further up the ground, and we are certainly using a lot more short passing, a lot more changing lanes. We're not as predictable on transition, just going down the lanes. We're changing lanes quite often. We're not scared to hit up we weren't scared to hit up a 20-25 metre pass. And we were looking to get the ball on quicker with a considered effort to drop the eyes going into forward 50.
Yeah, that was really one of the really dominant things that I took out of the game. Was every time we went forward, in the majority of cases, not every time, of course, but in circumstancing and allowing, we were really lowering the eyes and really trying to find a body rather than kicking it to a pack. Occasionally there's times where you have to because you're under so much pressure, but there were so many times we'd have a passage of handball, and the guy that receives it would then try and do about a 15-20 metre pass onto somebody's chest, and that's an easy way to get goals. It makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, 100%. And we weren't afraid, and look, time will tell in the heat of battle when a game's on the line whether we have that courage. But, we can only go by what's in front of. But it was a stark contrast to previous years. Our switching was faster and more decisive. We had options up the ground where we did switch, whereas last year often we'd switch and then we'd have to wait while the plotters went across the other side of the ground. We had options that looked like a considered game plan, it worked well. And when you've got a forward line that looks to be as versatile as ours is going to be, with so many options, that becomes a real weapon. Because at times, Mac, one of the other changes that I noticed is that instead of having those 2 small high half forwards running up to the wings, this time around we had, at times you'd have McAdam up high, you'd see Darcy up high, you'd see Berg lead up. So it was quite obvious to me that there was a lot of, my old coach used to call it the elastic band thing, where one forward, one back, and just rolling through, leading up, rolling back, leading up, rolling back. So, and having those marking options, we saw Fogg take marks on the wing, we saw McAdam take marks on the ring, Elliot Himmelberg take marks on the wing, even Riley Thilthorpe up there when he was playing forward. And it just looked so much more cohesive and so much more dangerous to have a marking player up there rather than kicking it on the head of Lockie Murphy or Ned McHenry.
Yeah, it did look totally different than last year, didn't it? Totally different. And of course, different personnel help as well. You've got Rankin up there who, while he was a bit quiet in the first quarter, he cut loose in the second quarter, and you'd hate to be a back pocket trying to stop that guy because he just gets him out of anywhere when he's really going.
Yeah,
he really throws panic into their hearts.
Look, and certainly personnel does make a difference, but it was a substantial change, and there seems, I think, there has been a lot of work between the connection between the middle of the ground and the forward 50 this year in terms of how we transition the ball, what our forwards are doing, what they're doing when they're not the focus in terms of their running patterns, and certainly with, as I said, the amount of options that we have up forward, both tall and small, as long as they keep that movement and keep that rotation and presenting different options and different looks to the opposition, it's going to be particularly hard to match up on. And, you know, I think if our defence can hold its own, which, you know, more or less it did, and our midfield, which seemed to have a lot of runners coming, I think we had 7 different players attend CBA centre bounces at various points, and it looked like, you know, apart from the mainstays of Berry, Laird and Schomburg, you know, you had Soligo through there, Shelley ran through a little bit, Rankin ran through a little bit, Sloan ran through a little bit, Matt Crouch ran through a little bit. You know, lots of different players running through there, which is really a Crows quality of old when we used to have high rotations going through there. The ability to be versatile and throw different looks at the opposition and forcing the opposition to react, I think, is going to be quite an asset once we get everyone firing.
Yeah. Saligo did very well in the, every time he went for a stint in the middle, he actually cleared the ball quite often out of the centre. So, or was instrumental in it coming out of the centre. So, yeah, you're quite right. We did mix and match quite a bit. I mean, we had the essential 3 or 4, but those others coming in there, the 2 smaller guys, and Rosselli and Rankin, and Saligo. I think Keys only attended 2 centre bounces, I think. So I don't know how they're going to really play him. I think they played him mainly on a half-forward flank, I think. But
I even saw him on the half-back, sort of almost defensive wing or half-back at times. I think Ben's going to struggle, to be honest.
I was trying to work out where he was playing because like you said, he wasn't sometimes in the defence as well. That could be from half forward going up forward, but he's obviously not in favour at the moment for the middle, and because I think we proved last year that's not necessarily a winning formula to have Berry, Laird and him in the middle at the one time. You just need something a lot more zappier and zippier than that. And we've got that now. We've got that.
Yeah.
So where he goes, I don't know.
Yeah, no. Well, look, and maybe he's a bench player. Maybe he's a pinch hitter, Mac. Maybe he's a break glass kind of player. I still think he's coming back into full fitness. He obviously had some issues. And thanks, Wooden Spoon, for posting those CBA percentages in the chat. And you can see the spread there. Even Tyler Brown, who I actually quietly impressed with Tyler Brown. His disposal isn't great, and he's got some work to do to. I think he's obviously joined the system late, so whether he's still learning our patterns or whatever in terms of where he expects blokes to run. But in terms of his frame and his ability to get the ball in close, and he's got a good core and turn of foot, not a bad option, Mac, for a freebie.
No, as I said, I saw him play with Collingwood, and the one game that he played in the middle, he played well, and he got some opportunities in this game, and more in the second. We're going to put the second game in the last 3 quarters, but he had as you can see, he had some time in the middle, and he did quite well. So, I think he will play some games during the year, and I'm not suggesting he's going to be an automatic starter in the first 22, but there'll be time through injuries, etc. I think he'll get a go.
Yep. So, you know, I think in our midfield, I really am still quite concerned with Riley O'Brien. Because he's not doing enough around the ground, Mac. His centre bounce work, I think, is partly on him, but partly I still don't think we have that set up right. It doesn't look right to me. But around the ground, he's not giving us anything. And I know we've got quite a few tools, but I just wish we would be able to get more from him around the ground.
Well, we got very little from him around the ground. I think he probably took 1 or 2 marks around the ground for the whole day, which is very poor. And when you consider that Darcy and Jackson would have taken a lot more than that around the ground. So, no, I thought it was a miserable effort by him. And look, he looks so... Well, he's so uncoordinated for a start. He's just like, it's not, his body doesn't seem to all want to go in the same direction at one time or something. And I know he can play better than that because he has played better than that in the past, but geez, he's not in good form.
He's not in good marking form, but generally one of his strengths has been his ability to get around the ground and get to contests, Macca, but I just actually didn't see him make a lot of marking contests, and often he would be just out of frame, you know what I mean, like 15 meters off the pack. So it wasn't as if he was dropping behind to be at the next contest or anything. He just didn't seem to be making contests, and you know, I don't know what that is. Whether that's I don't think it can't be a lack of fitness because he's a fit bugger. I don't know. Is it concentration?
I really don't know, but we desperately, if we had a really quality ruckman, I would be game enough to say that we'd be a top 8 side this year. Because I think, but we lack so badly with that. We have to really earn our kicks out of the middle, because there's no such thing as putting it down the throat of our players in the centre square. It's hard work.
No, and you know the value of it. I think it was in the last quarter where the value of being able to. I think it was Riley Thilthorpe actually flicked one over the back, and someone ran onto it, and it got kicked to Himmelberg up forward, and you know, the value of having a ruckman that can do, even if he can only do that 2 or 3 times in a match. You know, if you can kick your midfield off 2 or 3 times in a match, invariably that leads to a goal because everyone else is flat-footed. So it's highly valuable. And as Matt says in the chat, you know, Riley would get towed up at the moment by Max Gawn or someone of that ilk because it just wouldn't get to enough contests.
Yeah, that was Thilthorpe that did that tap, and it's one of the most beautiful things of the day from a ruckman. It was just an absolute ripper, right down his lap, so he could take it on the run as well. So
yep,
yeah. It's one
Yes.
thing, you know. It's interesting that in some ways it's a pity we haven't got a Grundy in our side. But, you know, there was talk at one stage of getting him, and with that went cold. But he may have chosen to stay there. But like a Grundy would be very handy in our side.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about that situation before. Look, so that's probably out of everything in that happened through the midfield. I think that O'Brien was probably the disappointment. You know, everyone else I think had their moments. You know, Shuey was good again. Laddie and Berry were standouts in my opinion. We had Saligo, you know, just looking classy every time he got the ball. Tyler Brown, hustle and bustle. Matty Crouch getting involved. Rory Sloane getting involved. Mitch Hinge played a little bit more defensively, but when he was up on the wing, he did quite well. Lots of good signs through the midfield.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a major problem for us this year. I mean, there'll be games when we're up against the real A graders, and they might get on top with the help of a good ruckman, like a Gorn or something like that. But no, I think in general, I've been pretty happy with our midfield.
Yeah. Now defensively, no, and we need to temper this a little bit by the fact that, you know, Freo had 6 first 22 out. So, and they're trying Fife up forward, which was interesting. I think he'll be quite difficult to contain once he gets used to being a focal point there. Defensively, I thought we were okay, but there's probably a couple of players defensively that worried me. The main one was Brodie Smith, actually, because Brodie Smith doesn't seem to be on the same page as everyone else when it comes to how we transition out of defence. He's still dump kicking,
Yeah.
Mac, and he turned the ball
Yeah.
over quite a bit.
Yeah, yes. Very disappointed, Smith, because as you said, I mean, he's one of the senior players and he should be setting an example. But as you say, the number just blind dump kicks.
I don't know whether he's got the capability, Mac. His kicking style, his action lends itself to just big, raking kicks. And often, because he's got that hook style in his kick, if you ask him to hit a bloke up 25 metres out, he just does not have the technique to do it consistently. It's too much. There's too much room for error in his technique to be able to do that.
Yeah, look, it's a shocking technique he's got, and he wasn't taught properly how to kick how to kick properly when he was a young lad. But I mean, there's many players though that do have a wrong technique, and they can manage to still hit a chest though thing because that's what they do.
Yeah, but there's not many players with that hook technique that can do it. He brings the ball up from very high, and he just swings that foot around it's almost a 45-degree angle. And you know as well as I do that the best way to hit a bloke up short is to have very straight lines with your kicking, have everything nice and tidy and 90-degree angles. And Smithers just isn't that. And I think he can hit a low pass because hooking the ball like that can get you to kick quite low, but his direction is too inconsistent.
Yeah, no, I thought he was a bit disappointing.
Yep. I thought Tom Dede played pretty well. Looks to be over his hand issues. Played with a fair amount of assurance. People, declaring the death of Tom went far too early, in my opinion. I think he'll be another solid, player down back. I want to talk to you a bit about Geordie Dawson, though, because I think as much as we all hate the fact that he's down back, that's where he's going to play, Macca. I hardly saw him up the ground all day.
Well, he's going to play there for one reason. The fact is, if he's not down there, we don't have the same quality of getting the ball as he does. He's able to win hard balls. He's able to win overhead balls. And he also is a very good general in telling people where to go in defence, where the next ball's going to come from and what to do for players to drop back, etc. I mean, I watched him. He acted like a captain out there, and then he is a captain, and he acted like it. And
very much a general, yep.
Yeah, and unfortunately, if we do have a rubbery area in our team, it's down in defence, and I think that, as you said, he's going to play more games down there than anywhere else.
Yeah, and maybe we need to get used to that. I mean, there's no denying the fact that halfback is an important spot. We've seen some good teams with good players playing off halfback, for the reason that they can settle defence, they can direct the ball out of defence, et cetera, et cetera. I guess the problem is we've all seen how damaging Jordan can be up the ground, and I guess we'd all like to see that. But I don't know. He's very good down back. I just feel like it's a bit of a waste of talent. But anyway, as the squad matures further, we may see that change. But certainly I think for the first half of this season, we're going to see Dawson down back again by the looks of it.
Certainty, I think.
Yeah. Parnell was good. It's a race, I think, between him and Jones with regards to the small defender role. Didn't see a huge amount of either of them, but I thought Parnell was better with ball in hand than Jones was.
Yeah, look, if you go on their game on the weekend, well, there's no doubt that Parnell played better than Jones. Jones didn't actually get a lot of the ball thing.
No, he didn't.
I haven't seen stats, but I was actually at one stage very surprised when I saw Jones get the ball and have a kick, because I thought, geez, I forgot you were playing. So he didn't have a good one.
Jones was sort of up and down the ground a bit. At times he played defence, and at times he played up a bit higher on the wing. I even saw him up forward at stages. Again, probably one of those break glass type of players at the moment, Macca. Probably hasn't nailed down a spot himself, but he's good enough to be the type of guy that you could throw in off the bench and he could fill a number of roles.
Yeah, but one thing, after we'd played 7 quarters of football, I'd watched Jones playing very, very average. I saw McHenry kick a couple of goals, but he's playing in the Bs. And then, of course, we've lost the other bloke, another pick 6 across. And I think to myself, 3 wasted bloody top picks. If we could put 3 top picks into that team now, we'd be talking finals.
Well,
I just
no
can't
doubt.
get it out. Can't get it out of my system, Zane. It just shits me so much.
Yeah, look, there's no doubt about it. It's we're set back a little bit by that. But what are we going to do about it? Like, we can't do anything about it now. And I feel like the squad has evolved and developed sufficiently that they'll be competitive. But it probably has put us back 2 years, Macca.
Yep.
Elsewhere defensively, I thought Butts did quite well. I thought Murray did quite well. We didn't. Not too many of their blokes got off the chain. Fife looked menacing, but he's a class act, so you'd expect that. But they didn't have a lot of avenues to goal. Freo, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I just think we are lacking one quality backman at the moment, and I mean Dawson goes back there, but in spite of that, I still think we're one good backman short.
In what, a tall backman, Macca, or?
Yeah, like for example, it's been suggested we should be going after Redmond from Essendon, that type of bloke. The great interceptor. I mean, Duday as an interceptor didn't intercept a lot on the weekend. I just wonder, one of those, but one of those backmen just that repeatedly just a pain in the arse to the opposition because they're always either sporting it or marking it. And one of the blokes that played out there might end up being that bloke, and Keane. I reckon once Keane's got a few games under his belt, he'll be in the side, I think.
Well, I was going to talk about Keane because I just feel like he took a step on the weekend. He's certainly aggressive. He's good in the air. He's a really good kick for some bloke that hasn't played a huge amount of AFL football. Not the worst kick by any stretch. So, I think he will definitely be a starter, I think. I think he's a definite starter as that third tall. Be able to take the medium. Like if you look at Brisbane's lineup, he'd probably be on Gunston, for example. That third tall option.
Yeah, look, and he's only been here for about 3 weeks, or 4 weeks, or something like that. No, probably 3. And once he's got more run under his belt, he took one very, very good run there during the game, and just gives us an example of what he can do. And he's got a very good hoof on him. He can kick the ball, and like all Irish recruits, they haven't kicked the ball before, so they're taught how to kick it properly. Unlike Smith, they hold it properly and kick it properly. I think that he's got a lot to offer us, and I think that he'll be in the side after a few weeks.
Well, don't forget too, we got Josh Worrell as well, Macca. He wasn't playing on the weekend with a slight hamstring, so there's your next tall defender.
That was a disappointment, yeah.
So I'm not as concerned about that as you. I think in terms of our stocks, I think we're still a little bit raw, but I think we've got the cattle. I actually think we're more prone to getting bent over by small forwards. That's where I think we lack a little bit of quality.
Well, yes, we've been used to over the years, not so much last year, but in years gone by, having Brown you always forgot about that position because Brown always just did a good job. But now we're just trying to get a replacement there. We've tried Parnell, we've tried Jones. It'll be one of those, I suppose, but I can't think of anybody else.
Now look, Matt, with Mick, long-term Mick has heeded the call. So let's get Mick up on stage, shall we?
Why don't we?
Waiting patiently there. Come on board, Mick. How are you, mate? He's on mute, whatever he is.
Yeah, thanks. Good. You got me?
Yeah, we got you
Yeah,
now.
we
How you
can-
going?
Loud and clear,
good,
mate.
thanks. Good. Just got a couple of things about the game on the weekend. I think you're right about Keane. I was disappointed you brought his name up before he got on, actually, because I thought he did really well for someone who's only been in our pre-season for 3 weeks. I think it's showing a fair bit of promise.
Yep.
Agreed.
Did like the look of McInerney, or whatever his name is. I think while he's raw, he's definitely going to be a player.
Michelini, definitely going to be a player. Yeah, he had some very good moments.
Yeah, he did. I liked while he did slow down play a couple of times. I did like Matt Crouch's game.
Yep.
Getting later into the game, like getting the sixth quarter or whatever you want to call it, he was slowing down for sure. But he'd been playing for a hell of a long time by that stage too. But before that, he was actually kicking more, and he was actually back to hitting targets. He had only 25, 35 metre kicks, but they were still hitting targets, and that was good to see.
Yeah. The only question is, did he raise his century or not? Did he get 100 kicks or not?
I think he got 99.
Right, okay.
It must have been close. Bloody hell.
One young player that come on, I think he come on the 6th and the 7th, that I was actually surprised with his size, how good he could move in the forwards, was Billy Dowling.
Oh, but now you've stolen one of mine, mate. That was one of my specials I was going to pull out. I was wrapping Billy Dowling. Look, they've done very well to pick that guy up where they did, because he did a lot of good things, and he reads the ball well. He's got pace. He kicks well. I think he's going to be a player. Yeah, I agree with you.
And he's big. He's big. Like once he grows into his frame, he's big. And unlike all the rest of the midfielders the Crows have got and tried to turn him into a forward, he's actually got forward craft and can go into the mid. So I'm actually really looking forward to seeing what he can do.
Yeah, you're on the money, Mick. Right on the money, mate.
And we need to do something for Riley O'Brien. That was horrible.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who thought so, because I thought I might have been being a bit harsh.
Oh, no, he was worse than horrible. He was shocking.
I think I've told you before, I live in Broken. Well, I grew up in Broken Hill, and he just moved away. But I reckon the ruckman in Broken Hill could beat him.
I think so too.
Oh, he was shocking. He doesn't even look where he does tap. He wasn't even getting many taps, but he doesn't put it to an advantage. Lumbering, uncoordinated giraffe.
Well, the sad thing is, I think you've been kind to him.
I just think I'm hoping that they, Strawn. I did see him in the Interclub the week before. He was moving a lot better than, well, Christ, anyone can move better than Rob, but he was moving better. He kicked a good goal from outside of 50, where I don't trust him at 15 metres, never known 50. I think we're going to have to, something has to happen. And, push Thilthorpe, develop him into the ruck, because I think that's what his position is.
Thilthorpe's the definite option in the longer term.
Yeah, this is the next 2 or 3 years while he, builds into his body and whatever. Well, Strawn, I think, is the better option. Even they go 50-50, because unlike Rob, at least, Strawn's an option at the forward. He can take a mark and he can kick straight. When he goes to take a kick, it doesn't look like it's the first time he's ever tried to kick a ball. I think he's going to be a better option, because Rob was embarrassing.
Well, what I find amazing is, like, he's an absolute gumbo, and yet he's in our leadership group.
Yeah, well, maybe they thought they wanted someone with a IQ above room temperature, but that's about the only thing you can say for him.
You're so
He-
complimentary,
he's
mate.
his IQ might be the same size as the same number as his boot size, but that's about as far as you'll go for him.
Yeah.
What do
Sadly,
you think of What do
sorry.
you think of Sam Berry?
Excellent. I thought Berry's gone to another level.
He's getting the ball a lot more, and that's all he had to do. He had the tackling and the pressure and everything down flat. I actually saw him, use a bit of burst speed, and he's got a pretty good kick on him.
Well, I'm agreeing with everything you're saying, Mick. You're doing us out of a job here, mate. You're doing too good.
Do you think Schoenberg's lost a bit of weight, lost a bit of puppy fat?
Oh, no doubt about it.
I reckon there's at least 12 Big Macs off his waist, at least.
I think if Berry can continue the improvement that he showed in the pre-season, and Schoenberg can actually play to what his potential is, we're going to scare the hell out of some sides this year.
Mick, a couple of years ago, I tipped that Schoenberg would win a Brownlow medal. And
I can remember you saying that.
And the last time I predicted someone doing that was Danger, which was probably an easier pick. But I still think he's got enough ability to do it. I still think if he can continue to develop, he's lost a year. Last year, he just, for whatever reason, and we don't need to go into it, he just wasn't himself, probably lost a year of development. But over the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to see Harry develop into an elite midfielder, in my opinion.
He's got pace. He's got burst away pace, which is something we've been screaming for. But between him and Berry, Berry's got more pace than anyone thought he had. But and he's the strength of him. Even if someone does catch him, they usually burst through him anyway. But between him and Schoenberg, it's going to actually show us a midfield that we haven't had for a fair while. Someone that actually, can outrun a turtle and can actually, kick. It's going to be good.
Yeah, and you throw in Lairdy, who can always mop up the balls and fight hard for any loose ball. So
even Lairdy was kicking a bit more. He was doing all right.
Yep. No, I thought with a poor start, but then I thought the midfield got on top, and we didn't really. Yeah, we ended up looking pretty good in the middle.
I wouldn't want to get one of Fogg's fend-offs.
Oh God, no.
No, they're rib breakers, aren't they?
I think you'd be bringing out the stretcher.
Yeah, I reckon you'd just about do a sternum. Now, Mick, you've been extremely sensible, which kind of, for Macca and I, it's a real threat, but I've just decided to bring someone else on who, as far as sensibility goes, actually has it in his name, even though he's muted at the moment. Nuzz, how are you, son? Turn your mic on, mate.
I thought you said he was sensible.
See, he's not that smart. He's not that smart. Everyone, I did this on purpose just to expose him, right? Because everyone was going on about, how sensible he is.
Come on, mate.
Come on. Anyway, we'll keep talking while Nuzz works out his technology. Mick, you make a lot of good points. It's hard not to be optimistic this year, and you kind of think it's pre-season and all the rest of it, but I didn't see the same signs last year. I think the thing that I liked the most out of everything is the change in our ball movement, but also the fact that all our blokes have looked to have really benefited from another 12 months or another pre-season under Burgess. I've been told that Himmelberg and Thilthorpe, did so much work over the off-season that they were told to calm the farm. Harry looks fit as hell. Sam Berry's taken another step. Everyone looks hard. They look... they're not getting brushed off the contest. So we still probably lack a little bit of class, I think, but that'll come. But at the moment, we're a serious football team, in my opinion.
I think the young ones have got most of the class. Our older ones, like you were saying before about Smith, I saw him try and do like a 30-metre pass, and he missed by about 10 metres. It was like shocking. But our young players have got the class. Like I love Saligo. I think he's going to be anything, that kid.
Yep. Yep. Luke Pedler probably needs a little bit more time. He was there or thereabouts, but just maybe a smidge off the pace. But at least he's getting through games and trying to get into the games. He's probably just a little bit off. Nuzz, you with us now, mate? Oh, it's funny.
What does he have to do to get on, mate?
He's there. He's waiting. He just can't get his stuff together.
I think we've before the pre-season, I think we all would have agreed that we've got a forward line that's going to scare the hell out of a lot of sides. We've only got to get the ball into the 50, and there's going to be a lot of very nervous defenders. The biggest worry for me was, did we have a midfield that could get it down there? Well, I think that we're going to get it down there enough. My only concern now is our defence. But I like Butts. I do like Nuzz. He'd run through a brick wall to try and score a ball.
Yeah.
Keane looks to me to be going to be a player. Duday, I've always loved him. Even last year, I mean, the worst thing the coaches did last year was play him when he was injured and make everyone think he was a bad player when he's not.
Well, to be fair, to be fair, Mick, that's a Burgess philosophy. He's very big on, and he's spoken at length about this, about lifting players' abilities to play with injury, and that's not just in AFL, but he had the same thing when he was, where was he, at Liverpool or Arsenal, wherever the hell he was. He's very big on players managing injury and being able to play through injury, but I personally agree with you. I think they should have given dudes a break. There wasn't much to be gained, and his form certainly suffered by it.
Well, Adelaide, of all sides in the league, doesn't need encouragement to play injured players. We've done it to fault since we started, I think. But our biggest worry is, you were correct before, is the small offenders is our biggest concern. I did hear you say about Parnell. I'm not convinced. He does pull off some good kicks. I saw him do some shocking kicks as well. But he does pull off some, but he still looks like he should be going to primary school.
But he keeps getting up. Keeps getting up, mate.
Yeah, that's true. I have got faith that Jones will one day make a player. One thing I do like about Jones, he is physical. Like, he hits hard. He mightn't, and he can kick straight when he can finally find the ball.
Well, I must admit, that's one thing that I did notice about Jones. You can see he's definitely stronger, physically stronger, and he certainly does have no fears. So it's just he just didn't have a good game overall, and that happens to players. I wouldn't write him off totally because of that, but that pick he was taken, he really should be better than he is. But having said all that, that's history, But I think he'll get games this year at times, and he might even be the back pocket in the end.
I think the thing with Jones is that I think the thing with Jones is that he plays a style of game that Matthew Nicks likes, and I think for that reason Nicks is going to give him as many opportunities as he can, because he's that straight line player, doesn't get brushed off the ball, goes in hard, goes when it needs to go. Exactly Matthew Nicks's template. So we'll see Jones, I think, get as many opportunities as possible. Mick, it's been really good having you on, mate. Your insights, as always, put mine and Macca's to shame. But so I can only give you 5 minutes. Otherwise, it'll be the Mick show, and we can't have that.
I need to get back to work anyway.
Nice work.
Very good, mate. Thanks, mate.
Catch it. See ya.
Now, Sensible, are you there?
No, he's not. I'm just kicking him out. He's just taking up space at this point. Mate, if you get it sorted, come back. We do have, however, we've got the Arab child. We'll get the Arab child on to have a chat. How you going, mate? Oh, come on.
Well, they're saying out there that they can hear him.
Oh, that's weird. Because we can't. I don't know what's going on with that because, yeah, no.
I've got a pin in the left.
Now, if they can hear us, then they can hear that. Like, it's one or all. It's not per user, so I don't know what's going on there. Arab, we can't hear you, mate, so I'm going to kick you out. All right, Mac. Now, there's something else that we need to do while we're thinking about it. And you may recall that every year we have, or every month, sorry, this year, we have a T-shirt giveaway. And there was 11 participants in the first one, which I thought was a pretty low effort, really. I thought the T-shirts were better than that. But anyway, but I can announce, Mac, that the winner of the inaugural T-shirt monthly giveaway is Potato, who I noticed just popped in before. So congrats, Potato. I will be in your DMs shortly, and we will work out where to send your T-shirt and what type of T-shirt you have and what sort of Potato is a spud. Thanks, PJ. What sort of personalisation you want on your T-shirt, and then you can take us a picture and put it on Discord so people know what they're missing out on, and maybe people might actually start bloody entering next month because the contest will kick off again for March very shortly. So well done, Potato. Good stuff. And as I said, I'll be in your DMs in the next 24 hours to get some delivery details off you. That's how easy it is to get shit off bloody CrowCast this year, mate. We're just throwing stuff at people.
You're not wearing yours, Pete.
No, not today.
You have a crack at me last week for not wearing mine. Where's yours?
No. I had a crack at you because you had a personalised Macca as a Legend T-shirt and didn't wear it. That's just disrespectful, right? Yeah, we've got black ones. We've got all colours. If you want to have a look at our merch, go to aflcrowcast.com. Have a look in the merch there. But also, if you want something that's not there, like a different colour or whatever, hit me up because we're just using Printful, right? So I can knock something together for you if that's what you want. Yeah, if you want black, or some of them don't have black, most of them have black, I think, or navy or whatever, then yeah. Matt asked if Nikki's back this season. I haven't heard from Nikki. We must actually check in with her. I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, so we don't have purple animal, sorry, but I might be able to dig something up for you. Anyway, look, that's the T-shirt comp for the bloody month, so well done. Sensible, you're obviously not back yet, but if you do get your mic sorted, Peter J, he doesn't want to be on it anymore. Well, that's probably not true. He just hasn't got the time on a Sunday night. But if we do any stuff midweek or whatever, he might have a crack. And I think if I asked him nicely, if Macca decides to have a week off, then I'm sure he'd come on for the week. But no, it's just me and Macca. Look, they're already trying to replace us, Mac. Already trying to replace us.
I know. We're tough.
Anyway, also look, if you want to sponsor the CrowCast, I'm not going to say no. Ads on the chat. His company down there at what was it? Harvest of Fluria? Strawberry Farm down at Mount Compass was good enough to support us way back when. We've had a couple of other sponsors. If anyone wants to sponsor the CrowCast, there's stuff that we can do. Get you on socials and get you on this podcast, which obviously gets you some YouTube exposure. And lastly, before we get back to the footy, Mac, please like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already done so. We are trying to push this podcast up to 1,000 subs, and I refuse to buy subs, so we're going to do it organically. We've had really good response over the first couple of weeks, which is fantastic for pre-season Macca. So make sure you spread the word, share stuff, all the rest of it. Wear your bloody t-shirts when you get one around the place, and hopefully we'll get things moving in that regard. All right, back to the footy. Now, Mac, the other defender I wanted to talk about real quick was Will Hamill. Got through a game, took a couple of hits, looked all right.
Yeah, the problem with him is not so much ability; it's the physical side of it. Fiend. He always looks like he's vulnerable to getting another hit, and I thought probably 2 or 3 times because he runs with his head down very low. It's one of the reasons why he's in that situation.
Add to saying that sponsoring the pod made a killing for us. I got Peter J down for the opening. Well, look, let's be honest. It's a bit of a tenuous link between a football podcast and a bloody strawberry farm.
It is a tenuous link.
All right, let's try Sensible again, because he reckons it should be working. So get on, Sensible. We'll see if we can get it working. G'day, mate.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh,
We can. Can you
just turn
your
yourself
volume
up.
mate?
Yeah, turn yourself up a bit.
All right. There we go. Is that better?
Oh, look at you.
A classy
The
one.
dulcet tones.
Fancy.
The dulcet tones. I'm even going to give you a bloody. Yeah, I've even given you your own bloody little graphic there on our screen.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Look at that.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Well,
Tell
I
us
don't know
all
whether you're
about it,
welcome
mate.
yet. Depends how the next 5 minutes
Welcome
goes.
to everybody. I'm your host, Nuzz. I've got Phoenix with me, and joining me is Macca as well. How are you? Good man.
So, mate, how's your pod
yeah.
going? You've kicked off again the last couple of weeks. How's it going?
Good. Yes, I actually spoke to a very young Crows player today, and have recorded it, all ready to go release for Tuesday morning or Monday night.
Oh,
Billy
fantastic.
Dowling.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. So very exciting. Speaking to Bill, he seems the absolute professional. He just seems so level-headed, knows what he's getting into. There's no two ways about it. He knows what he wants out of his own career. So, he's definitely got a head on his shoulders, which you'll hear soon. But and we saw some really good things that he did, against Fremantle too. So high hopes for him, I think.
Oh, yeah, I liked him. I really did like him.
No,
He's just an accumulator, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he always has been. Actually, speaking to him, he said he hasn't really thought about making AFL a career until halfway through the under-18s year. So it's interesting that I would have thought he would have thought maybe a little bit more about it, before, maybe under-16s or bottom age under-18s. But he's always been an accumulator all the way back through. So, he's going to be playing a bit more on the outside, I think, until he actually can crack into that midfield. But no, it's going to be exciting watching him. This is where I'm a bit concerned about, like, people's expectations, and I've going to mention this on the pod as well. We're getting the right players coming into the club. So we're getting Phil Thorpe, Billy Dowling, and all these other players. But unfortunately, this is what Vardy Magic's brought up before, is a sunken cost fallacy. We have spent a lot of time and energy into the wrong players coming into the club in the past. I'm not going to name names. I think we all know who they are. And so in terms of our best 22 moving forward, like you've alluded to in the past, your team can change quite a bit from when you're bottoming out versus when you're in the grand final. We've only just started having the best team that we need to have. Maybe bar about 4 or 5, a couple of defenders, 1 midfielder, 1 forward. So, but a lot of them haven't played many games already. That's the problem.
Sensible, can I just interrupt? There's a lot of arseholes in the chat. The sound quality's better. Sensible's better. Sensible podcast better. Block Macca's face out was sensible.
I didn't like that one.
Sensible 1 step ahead. Even though we already had a bloody player interview, so whatever. Like, I even gave Crutator. I gave Crutator a bloody t-shirt, and he's pumping up your
can't,
tyres. Get stuffed, a lot of you. Anyway, but you are speaking a lot of sensible. The one thing that I really agree with you is that I feel like we've changed tack a little bit on the type of player that we're going after, and barring a few missteps, obviously with Fisher and all the rest of it, the quality of kids that we've got at the moment, they all seem to work really hard. They all seem to be, pretty committed. And certainly speaking with Elliot and, just around the traps, it seems to be quite a tight unit developing amongst that, 19 to 25-year-old bracket.
Yeah. Yeah, they all seem really friendly with each other. They're all on the same path, and they're all from similar backgrounds as well. They know what they want to get out of their own careers. So you're right. It's just that 16 to 19 draft, as we all know, just really set us back a few years. I'm always fearful thinking like, is Dawson's back end of his career going to be wasted because we won't be prime for another 3 or 4 years? But I think, Dawson will still be, 29, 30 by then. So he should still be well and truly in our best 22 by then. I just don't want to waste, I guess, those special talents like Fogarty, Dawson, Duday and so on. But there's not many, though, to be fair. Most of the real talent, X-Factor talent that we have is under 24 years old, under 23, really. Rankin's our oldest X-Factor player, and he's 23. So, it's going to be a tough road to just try and... We might have a blip. We might do well this year, and then once we give all of those players a lot of time, say Rochelle 60% midfield time, we might have that kind of downward, almost like a natural Melbourne thing. Like, remember when Melbourne a couple of years ago came 17th?
Yeah.
Something ridiculous?
Well, remember Hawthorn
that
after
might
2008 as well.
Yeah, well, absolutely. There's countless examples. So I just want people to be a bit more open-minded and think, nothing in life is linear, is it? Like, we're not going to just go up and up and up and then all of a sudden win a flag. Like, there may be a dip, and there's a reason for that. It might not be particularly coaching. It might be, the amount of age and games on the field. So at least we're drafting the right people. It's just really finding that balance. And that's quite tough. We're going to see Matthew Nicks put Sloan in the midfield, and it'll be bloody frustrating at times, but might be imperative to make sure that the balance is there.
Nuzz, what did you think about Ruckman?
No comment.
I mean, do you think
he was terrible.
Is there any other AFL team that's only got 2 Ruckmen on their list and no junior Ruckman?
Well, there's
coming up?
We've got 3.
No, there's not with him.
3? Oh, you're counting Thilthorpe in there, but that
Well, of course you're counting Thilthorpe. Of course you're counting Thilthorpe. He rucked for a year for Westies in his draft year, Mackie. You have to count Riley Thilthorpe.
Does the club see him as a ruckman? That's what I think most people are concerned about.
I think they play him in the ruck. Well, they play him in the ruck.
I don't think they originally did, though, Flan, but I think they're starting to think they have to now.
Nah. No, that would.
What do you think?
I mean, go on, Nuzz.
We don't need Thilthorpe in the forward line. It's that he can play there, and he'd be a nightmare matchup as your third resting tall forward, just like Max Gawn is. I mean, Max Gawn is the prototype ruckman, really. Premiership winning captain ruckman, and there's nothing stopping Thilthorpe from becoming that guy at all. Go forward, kick 4 goals. Paul Salmon days when he used to do that for Hawthorn and Essendon, if you're old enough to remember that. So there's enough forward line talent there, especially with Tyler Welsh in a couple of years. He'll be drafted, obviously son of the 100-gamer. So we'll have enough forwards. Scotty, that's I forgot the name. How dare I forget that name? It's late at night. So we've got enough forward line talent there. We don't particularly need Thilthorpe up there, especially if we decide that Himmelberg might end up being the guy up forward anyway.
He was interesting, wasn't he? I thought he played. I thought he played out of his skin compared to normal.
Oh no, he's put in a ton of work, Elliot. He's put in a ton of work, and I think you'll find, as I said to you a couple of times, Mac, I think you'll find that we'll be rotating the 3 of them through the ruck. I think you'll at various stages you'll see Berg, Thilthorpe, or O'Brien in the ruck, and it's going to be a messy option for people, for opposition clubs. At times we can have Berg and Riley up forward. At times we can go a bit smaller up forward and isolate Isaac or get Fogarty out one out. This is what I was talking about at the beginning of the cast. The amount of looks that we can provide is going to be quite difficult if those players fire, because there's so many different options and so many different configurations that we can throw up. Anyway, Nuzz, that's about enough from you, mate.
All right.
Had a gutful, to be honest.
I just want to ask you one more question, Pete.
Oh, go on his bloody podcast if you want to ask him questions.
I just who were the real give us 3 standouts, mate. The 3 standouts.
Oh, 3 standouts. I hate getting put on the spot because usually it takes me an hour to record these 3 standouts because I just edit everything for the podcast.
You say all of them and then cut out the 3.
Yeah, all of them. No, 3 unique things that I really liked was Tyler Brown. He showed that he can play AFL because, as you've said many times, Macca, he is to the standard. He's just been played out of position, and Collingwood is they're a pretty good team. So not for him not to get into Collingwood, it doesn't say too much. So that was a really good thing. I liked the fact that Keys wasn't played in the centre, but still found a way to get involved in the game. I found that really good for the balance and harmony of the team moving forward, especially in the future, because that's a lot of everyone's concern is that, is Keys going to be that midfielder? And I think even the club now realise he's probably not, but he's too good not to be in our best 22, I feel. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys feel that as well.
Now, Nuzz,
do you think he's in the future?
Yes. Nuzz, I'm going to do something I've never done before. Yep. I'm going to leave you in charge of the podcast for 5 minutes.
Oh, there you go. Goodness me.
Like,
where are you going?
Never you mind. You and Macca can just crap on for 5 minutes.
All right, we'll carry on those. And we've got up to 2, right. And there is your 3rd one, mate.
Oh, I was trying to think. The 3rd, Rankin, just the X factor, just missing that. But just seeing the one thing, I wasn't a player, it was seeing our delivery inside 50 was so much better.
Yeah,
it was point. Just. We haven't seen that for since 2017-18.
Lowering the odds, mate.
Yeah. And this is what makes me think about Dawson. Like, do we actually need him up forward? Dawson, obviously, what was he, like 2nd or 3rd in the best and fairest for Sydney when he was on the wing?
3rd, yeah.
Yeah, 3rd. So it's, there's arguments both ways. Everyone needs a quarterback in their team. And if Dawson's that, you can't lose. Ideally, we want 2 Dawsons on the team. So where do you put him? Where's the best position? If we can deliver like we did against Fremantle, we don't need Dawson on the wing.
Correct. That's correct.
So
I agree with that.
And we're at the moment now, our defence is so, I guess, rickety. Having Dawson there really does help.
Just then putting on the spot again, in the last, the 5th, 6th and 7th quarters, who are the ones who caught your eye in that?
Well, actually, it's funny you say that because I didn't know there was a 7th, so I stopped watching after the 6th.
Oh, did you? Yeah, there's a 20-minute one after that.
7 quarters. What kind of 7? Oh, ridiculous. So I didn't actually catch the last one. Apparently, Shoal had a blinder. But caught the eye. Look, McHenry's goal was really good, which we hadn't seen enough of that. And if you watch the replay, that was from 50, so that was quite good. So seeing McHenry do that was good. Seeing Thilthorpe and Himmelberg in the ruck on occasion, and just seeing Thilthorpe's ability against a lesser opponent was really good. So it shows you what we can actually get out of him when push comes to shove, and he learns how to use his body more. And he's 25 years old. And who was the worst on ground, Crotato? Well, I will leave you with that answer because everyone knows who it was. I believe it was Rob.
Yeah. Gallant wasn't too bad, mate.
No, Gallant, yeah. He was... Well, this is Gallant. Is he going to stay at the club? Because where's he going to fit in? This is another question, isn't it? Is he just going to stay in the SANFL test? Because he's good enough to play AFL Best 22, in my opinion.
He is, but there isn't a spot at the moment, is there?
Not at the moment, no. So it's going to be really difficult to keep Gallant because if I was him, I would probably leave. And as much as I don't want him to, and someone said Gallant replaces Tex. Yes, if he's patient enough. That's it. But we all know a lot of AFL players aren't. So if Gallant is settled here and wants to continue knowing that, like, is this going to be Tex's last year?
I don't think so.
Well, this is it. I mean, how long can you kind of like? He's like Tom Hawkins, you know, can just keep playing and playing, and you know that bigger body gets you through AFL years. But is it to the hindrance of letting other players? Yeah, it's that again, it's that fine balancing that it's going to be really difficult. So.
Yeah, and look, there will be injuries at times, and he might get a chance, but it's going to be a lean passage for a lot of players that are sort of marginal about at AFL level or don't get the correct opportunity because there's somebody that's absolutely locked in that spot.
Yeah. And a year, and as someone mentioned, and it just reminded me, like a year is a long time in football. I mean, if you go back to your podcasts of 1 year ago and talk about different players, you know, we're talking about Billy Frampton, Rucking, and God knows, and other sorts of ridiculous things. I mean, it was 3 years ago we're talking about Texas' career being over, really, wasn't it?
Well,
It was like 2 years ago.
We did think that lastly, Billy Dowling, I think there's a player of the future there.
Yeah. Oh, Billy, no, just speaking to him, he just seems like he knows. I don't know. You get a feeling from speaking to some players that they know what to do. That he just feels like he knows what the AFL system's about. He's ready for the journey and is ready to be serious and kept talking about work rate. So you have a listen to that on the podcast Monday night, Tuesday morning. But no, he'll definitely play, if not this year, the next year. He'll definitely play AFL. No doubt in my mind.
I'm in the same wagon as you.
Yeah.
Speaking of wagons, I feel like Sensible's gotten on the wagon a bit too bloody much. So get out.
Lord, hey, thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it, and I'm always here. And just go Crom.
No, good on you, mate.
No, you're not allowed to say that word on this bloody podcast.
Don't trying to razz you. Hey, I'm impartial. I don't actually. Doesn't bother me the slightest. I don't care. No, go Crows.
Yeah. See you, Nuzz.
See you, Nuzz.
See you, guys.
Don't forget, everyone. I'm just booting Nuzz out. There you go, Nuzz. And that allowed me to. Whoops. What happened there?